What's up, guys, and welcome to our very cluttered garage workshop where Tania and I are working on the van. So today we're going to talk about this cabinet. So we've got two big jobs left on the van. We've got this cabinet and we've got the shower install. So I'm going to try to work on the shower enclosure this week. But this video, actually it's going to be a two-part series, is going to be just about this cabinet. So the idea for this cabinet actually started about 2 weeks ago. We had taken the kids to Disney World. It was pouring rain, so we couldn't go into the parks. And on an old bag, I don't know if you can see this, but I drew what I thought this cabinet was going to look like. And then Tania and I sat and redrew it a couple times. On the way home from Disney, as she drove, I downloaded SketchUp and I drew this thing. So I'm not very good at SketchUp. This is basically just kind of a conceptual drawing of what it's going to look like. It just kind of helped me visualize what I needed to do. But we're going to do this in a two-part series. So the first part is going to get us through to where we are right now. So the cabinet has been built, the drawers have been built. Everything has been sized. We know the refrigerator fits in there. We've done some painting. We've run some holes for electrical. We've run some holes for ventilation and things like that. The second part of the video, which we're hoping will come out next week, we'll install the drawer slides and make sure everything closes smoothly. We'll attach the face frames and we will cut and attach the butcher block, which is sitting right under this bench as well. So pretty big project. We're going to break it down into two sections. If you're new to this channel, we do hope you'll hit the subscribe button. We're Marc and Tania, and we are converting a 2019 Promaster into a home on wheels. My wife is not here right now, but she'll be here later in the video. So with that, let's get started. One more thing. I know we haven't been posting very much lately. This was much easier doing these videos when we were doing just one job, videoing, and then kind of posting and moving on to the next job. But now at this point in the build, they're such big jobs that we do a little bit of one, and then while we wait for a part to come in, we start another one. And a lot of this work has been really late at night, not only with my work schedule, but because it's like 95 degrees here every day. So a lot of times we don't start work until 10 o'clock at night, and then we start again at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I end by 9 so I can get to work. So yeah, it's just part of the way things are when you're building a van, but we are trying to share everything with you, and we do hope you're getting something out of all these videos. First thing I had to do is figure out how deep the cabinets were going to be. So this particular series model is called the Elegance, and it has some flanges that sit on the side that you're supposed to be able to screw into. So this would screw into the face frame of the cabinets, and it screws right in about there. Now the Elegance model, apparently you don't need this. Apparently if you want to, you can just attach it through these 4 points in the actual cabinet of the refrigerator. You simply pop these off and you put some drill holes and put some screws through there, and you can attach it through there. And when you do that, you're supposed to be able to have this really close to the cabinet. So you would have the face frame that basically sits up against it, which probably looks a bit nicer than having that ugly flange in place. But the question is, how far back does this thing go? So I had no idea. So what I basically did was I went to my kitchen and I looked at this right here. So this is our dishwasher, and it's sticking out in front of the face frame, and it looks like it sticks out about 1¼ inches. So it looks good to me. It still sits underneath the countertop. So I'm going to assume that we're going to have our face frame back 1¼ inches from the front of the refrigerator. And if we put it 1¼ inches back, this is a sample piece of pine. It looks basically like this. Now I know it can't sit directly against the refrigerator. It's got to be out here a little bit, but this is about the depth it would be. And then if we use our ruler, the back of the fan is at 19½ inches. We need 1½ inches minimum clearance back there, so that gets us to 21 inches. So this could be a 21-inch depth on this cabinet if we go from front to back. By the way, I didn't get any screws with this thing, so I'm not sure how you're supposed to attach this, but the holes are in the flanges, and there are holes drilled in the side of the body of the refrigerator, but I don't have any screws. So I don't know if it came with them and I didn't get any, but I don't have any. I've got my fence set at 21 inches. Now I'm going to take the miter saw off the table, put a flat board in place. So this is one long sheet, and then I'm going to start running the boards and cut them all at 21 inches. So now that I have all my boards cut to 21 inches in width, I wanted to cut them to length. Now I can't do this on the table saw, unfortunately, because these boards are too long. I'm going to cut them at 34.5 inches with the idea that my butcher block is going to be 1.5 inches, and that'll get us up to 36 inches, which is kind of the ideal counter height. So what I did was basically I measured for 34.5 inches from the end of the board up, and I put a piece of tape on there, and the tape is to prevent any tear out from the blade because I want this to stay really nice. And then I went ahead and drew a line across it with my square, and then I measured it in a couple places just to check them, and I realized something was really off. I couldn't figure out what it was, and what I eventually figured out was my T-square. I don't know if you can see this, but somewhere in here something is rocking. So something along this bar right here, there must be a bend in the metal somewhere, and that's causing this thing to rock back and forth, and it was messing up all my measurements. So it's good that I checked it the second time just to make sure everything was in order. So I can use this as a straight edge on one side, but I'm not going to use it as a T anymore because it's really not at 90 degrees. But I went ahead and double checked everything and drew a second line in. Now we've got everything all set up, and we've got to figure out how to cut it. Now, like I said, I can't do it on the table saw because it's just too wide. So what I'm probably going to do is put my miter saw back here. I'll put a stop block to make sure we're at 34.5 inches. We'll cut it in one direction, flip the board, and cut it in the other direction. And I can do that because my miter saw is pretty dead on, even at the full extension, and I should be able to get through these in one pass. So I've cut all four pieces to 34.5 inches, and they're 21 inches in width. The only other thing I did was I cut out the toe kicks, which you can see these are 4 inches by 3 inch cutouts. So this will be the front of the cabinet, and this will be the bottom of the cabinet. And the only other thing I did was I cut out these 3/4 inch notches. And the idea for that is that I'll be able to put these support pieces in place later when I go to assemble the cabinet. Now I tried to cut everything with the table saw because it's super clean and super accurate, but what I couldn't do with the table saw, I did with a hand and a jigsaw. So some of the cuts are really super clean and some of them are, but that's the way it is. By the way, I cut the toe kick in all four, but these notches are only on the inner 3 of these side pieces. So basically the side that you're gonna see is not gonna have these because I will I'll pocket screw from the inside so you don't have this ugly thing to see on the inside. On the inside of the cabinet, you're not gonna see, but on the outside piece that's visible, these do not exist. I'll just pocket screw from the inside. Hope that made sense. I think it'll make sense later. Next thing I did was rip 4-inch strips of 3/4 inch Baltic Birch plywood, and I'll glue them in place right down here at the toe kick. So this will give something for the bottom shelf to support. It'll also give some structural support to the cabinets. By the way, if you watch Sara and Alex James, their cabinet video, you're gonna say, these look a lot like theirs. I tried to make it pretty much exactly like theirs because I thought it was really good. Made our first cabinet kind of like that. So it's mostly made out of 1/2 inch Baltic Birch plywood with some 3/4 inch Baltic Birch plywood supports, and it came out really good. So we're copying it. So if you see their video, you'll know where we got it. Thank you, Alex and Sarah, if you're watching, which I'm sure you're not, but okay. Thank you anyway. What I think I'm going to do is leave 3/4 of an inch on either side of the refrigerator. So 3/4 of an inch gives us a 1/2 inch for the face frame plus another 1/4 inch on either side of the face frame, which I think will be good. So 1.5 inches bigger than the width of the fridge. The width of the fridge is, I'm going to say 20 3/4. Add to that, that's 22 1/4. Is that right? 22 1/4. So we're going to try this cabinet at 22 1/4 and see how it works out. Check it out, check it out. All right, so we've got these ledges in here that we just installed. I've got some 22 1/4 inch horizontal pieces that we're going to use as stabilizers for this cabinet. Let me get gluing and nailing this in, and we should be able to install the refrigerator. Then we'll build a cabinet there and a cabinet there, and it's going to look awesome. Well, I thought I was recording, but apparently the phone died, so I didn't record the whole thing about putting this cabinet together, but it's pretty easy. But I basically cut a bunch of pieces to 22 1/4 inches like we measured before, and then I went ahead and glued and brad nailed them in. So this is what we have so far. So this is some 3/4 inch lumber. This is some 1/2 inch, some scraps that I had on the ground, all cut to 22 1/4 and nailed in from the side. The only thing left to do at this point is to put in some 3/4 inch spacers in the front that the refrigerator sides will screw into. And that should leave just enough room for the refrigerator to get in the cabinet, theoretically. So if I've measured this correctly, and I think I have, with these two spacers in here, the refrigerator should fit right inside, really snug, and then we'll screw into this. I'll probably also put a couple of 3/4 inch spacers somewhere back here, so that once the refrigerator's in, it can't rock back and forth or anything like that. So I've gone ahead and cut these notches in this 3/4 inch lumber, and I'm just going to attach it to here, and that'll give us something to screw the refrigerator into. I never heard of screwing a refrigerator in, but apparently that's how this one works. It's the Elegance model. Elegance. And you might wonder why I'm not gluing these, because on the odd chance that this doesn't allow the refrigerator to fit, I'd rather pop out 4 little nails than to have to pry off a bunch of glue. So this won't come off anyway because there will be screws going through here. So as soon as I know it fits, I'll drive some more nails through and it should be good. All right, the cabinet is done. It's all braced up and I've got these pieces. If I measured this right, the refrigerator should slide right in here and be nice and snug on the sides. If I measured it wrong, we're popping out some wood. Must admit, I've actually almost impressed myself. I'm sure I scratched the crap out of this refrigerator in the meantime, but this is a good fit all around. Fits well in the back. This seems okay. I'm not sure if this is a problem or not. I may take this piece off or just cut this right here just to give a little more room to this, but I don't think that's the problem. That's it. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I think before I put it in, I'll make a note just to jigsaw out a little bit here just to give this a little bit of breathing room. And that's it. We have ourselves a refrigerator cabinet. Or why wait for a jigsaw when you have an oscillating tool? Okay, this part's done. Now here we want to build one of those tall cabinets that you can pull out. It has all the spices in it, but I don't really know how to do it, so I'm going to have to go research this a little bit. No idea. Guys, the next morning, and this is what we've got done so far. So this cabinet is in place, and I've got a bunch of spacers in here. I was going to start on this cabinet. This is actually going to be that vertical drawer that you can pull out, but I don't really know how to build this. I know how to build drawers, so I'm actually going to do this one first, and then we will work on this one. So basically, as a recap, the walls of the cabinets are made of 1/2-inch Baltic Birch plywood. I put a 3/4-inch Baltic Birch plywood base on either both sides or one side, depending on if this is the end of the cabinet or if there's another wall after it. Then basically I put a base in here to space these two walls apart like I've done here. This is actually 3 pieces because I was using up some old wood that I had. You're never going to see it anyway. And then I've got some other pieces cut, and some of these are nailed and screwed in. Some of these are just hanging here to be a spacer so that the cabinet stays square. Now what I'm going to do is build a face frame, because I know I've drawn it up to see where the drawers are going to be, but I like actually putting the face frame in first, and then I can space it in the face frame and see the look we like, and then we'll build drawers according to that spacing. So we're going to use 1x1 pine, and we're going to build a face frame for this, and then we'll put horizontal pieces in that face frame to figure out where we want the 3 drawers to be. So let's get to it. So the face frame is done. It's made out of 1x2 select pine. The only thing I did was I trimmed this edge down on the table saw down about 1/8 of an inch so that the reveal on the outside of the cabinet was about 3/8 of an inch. These pieces I had cut perfectly, and then I decided, you know, they're a little too tight. I'm gonna recut them, even though the voice in my head was saying don't do it, and now they're all too loose, so these got to be recut. But what we're gonna do is 3 drawers and then an opening. I checked with Tanya, this is what she wants. So the openings are actually 5. They're evenly spaced openings, 5 3/16 each. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna make drawers that are 5 inches high. They are going to be 18.5 inches wide. So the opening here is actually 19.5 inches, and you need a 1/2 inch on either side for the drawer slide. So the width of the drawer will be 18.5 inches, and we're gonna make them 18 inches deep. So I've gotta go get some soft close 18-inch drawer slides. But that's it. I've got a stack of 1/2 inch Baltic Birch plywood that I'm gonna try to salvage to get as many 5-inch strips out of, and yeah, we're gonna build some drawers, and then we're gonna go get some other wood to finish this face frame. I ripped all these boards to 5 inches in length, and I've gone ahead and routed a little dado in there to accept the drawer bottom. So the way I did that was I basically set my saw blade, make sure your power is off when you do this. You basically set the saw height to about half the height of the blade, and you might have to play with a scrap piece to see, to make sure it's all right. And then I set this away from the fence about 3/8 of an inch in there. Then I take a scrap piece and I run it through and make sure my cut is the right depth. It's not going to be wide enough at this point, but it might be the right depth. And then I send all the boards through there at the same time. Now what I do is unlock the fence, and I'll move it out just a little bit to widen the cut, and then I'll run my test piece through again, and then I will test fit the 1/4 inch bottom. For me, the second pass was still too tight, so I ran all the boards through on the second pass. Then on the third time through, I widened the fence just a little bit more. I ran my test piece through, and you can see this fit is a little hard to do with one hand. You see that? I don't know if you can see that. It looks pretty bad, but it's pretty good. So it sits in there nice, holds itself up. So then I ran all the pieces through. That's a little better view. I ran all the pieces through at that point, and so now I've got them all to length, and with this dado in place, now I've just got to cut them all the length of the drawers and start assembling. So everything has been cut and it's been sanded with 220 grit sandpaper, and we are ready for the glue up. So I've got my tight bond glue. I've got this special cap on here to do a nice thin bead, and I've got an 18 gauge brad nailer with 1-inch nails in it, and that's it. Keep everything square and make sure you keep your fingers away from the nail gun. That's it. Let's do it. And that's it. We wait for the glue to dry, sand it down a little bit more, and our 3 drawers are done. So this is actually what I want to build, but I don't know how to build it, so I'm going to take a bunch of pictures of this. Actually, I'm trying to get it out of here. I don't know how to unlock the drawer slides, but I want to take pictures so I can make it when I get home. And that's the power of the Home Depot. So that's what I drew based on my trip to Home Depot and all the measurements I took. Tried to measure what everything was and how far apart it was, and that's what I came up with. I think it's heavier than the one at Home Depot because mine is made out of Baltic Birch plywood, but it's a bit heavier. But it serves the same purpose, and it's kind of the same size. So this will basically fit into that drawer opening there. This will sit in here. I just got to put some slides on the bottom of it.
Welcome to the inside of our house, living room, kitchen. We brought our work inside of the house. I did this a few days ago. This is the primer. I love this stuff. This is a new stuff I'm using by Behr. It's Kitchen, Bath, and Trim Primer and Sealer. I've been using this prior to painting, and I really like it. So this is the face frame for the cabinetry. I've got another table in the living room. Face frames, yes, and you can tell it's still tacky. But I painted this a couple days ago in the garage and it wasn't drying. I think it's because of the humidity in the air. So we brought both of the tables in and it seems to be drying. It was a little tacky, so I really am ready to do the next step, but I can't do it while it's still tacky. So they're drying, but while this is drying, I am now working on another project in the garage doing some polyurethane sealant. So come with me to the garage so I can show you what we're doing next. So I want to give a shout out to Sara and Alex. Stop. I want to give a shout out to Sara and Alex James for giving the advice to polyacrylic the inside of the cabinetry. I would have never thought of that. Earlier when we first started doing cabinetry, I was painting the outside and the inside, but they were like, no, why do you do that? Because you don't do that on the inside of your home. They're not painted. So I got to thinking about it and I looked at the ones in the inside of our kitchen and bathroom and they're not painted. So thank you very much for that tip, and I started using it and it looks really nice. So that's what we're doing, and I've polyacryliced the inside of this cabinetry, and it has one coat and it looks really nice. It is a little gritty, and once it's fully dried, I'm going to hit it with a 220 sand grit and then probably do another coat of the polyacrylic. So, oh, and don't forget, if you are like me, you females out there, and you've got the nice little manicure, don't forget to wear a glove, because that's really important. You don't want to mess up your manicure. All right, so we're done with the polyacrylic. It is so freaking hot in here. I can't tell you how hot it is. So as this stuff is drying, in the meantime, let me show you what we've done so far.
We designed the cabinet,
Built a cabinet frame,
built our face frame,
primed and polyacrylic.
drawer boxes, and a shameless steal from our friends at the Home Depot. So we are going to stop this video here, at least this part of it. We've done a lot of work on this cabinet, but there's still a bunch of things that we still have to do. So for the next part of this, we are going to install the face frames. We're going to put in the drawer slides, including the undermount one that goes in here. We've got some electrical to run, a little more support stuff to put in, and the big thing is the countertop. We've never done anything with the butcher block countertop, so this is our first try at it. We've got to cut a hole for the induction cooktop. So a lot of work still to do.
Yes. So if you've been following along, don't forget to hit the like button and the comments. And if you want to stay up to date to the current videos and just get a notification, hit the subscribe button.
And a little notification bell.
Oh yes,
So
absolutely.
you find out every time we release a new video.
Yes.
So with that, thanks for joining, and we will see you next time.
Bye.